Hello everyone, welcome to our Planolution channel. I'm Mish.
I'm Blues.
I'm Mastodon.
And I'm Rocco.
Hello everyone, welcome to this Planolution video. In this video, we will be showing you guys some speed arts, and also we will reveal and talk about some cards in set 2 of Planolution. We'll also be announcing something that we hope to do in the near future. Without further ado, let's get into it.
Sorry to interrupt, Mish. I just wanted to add something. We really want to keep making videos and growing this channel, so if you do enjoy our content, it would help us so much if you just press that subscribe button. Thank you so much to everyone who subscribes or is already subscribed. You really are what keeps this channel going. Anyway, now, without further ado, let's get into the speed arts.
For my speed art, I wanted to draw something that looked kind of like an ancient rock, but I also wanted it to fit in with one of the 4 main archetypes of Maloop: the snails, bears, dinosaurs, or insects. I chose bears, so I decided to draw something that looked like an ancient statue of a bear. And first I drew the outline, and the outline took me a very long time. It took me multiple tries, actually, because I drew the feet, then I added claws, but I didn't like how it looked, so I erased it, and I drew some new feet. This shows that sometimes you have to draw something several times to get a good result in the end. And after I drew the newer feet, I decided that I didn't need the claws on them, and I thought that it would look better without them. So I went on to draw the rock that the bear was laying on, because it couldn't just be floating in midair. So after drawing the rock, I added some ground texture around the bear because it's supposed to be partially buried in the ground. So I was going to blend it into a green, well, first from a brown into a green so that it could fit in with some sort of grassy background. And that's why after I traced it, which I'm tracing it right now, after I traced the bear, I left the bottom of the ground open so that I could blend it into a green, and then it would fit nicely onto a background. After tracing it, I waited for it to dry and then chose 3 different shades of gray for the main body of the bear, and then the 4th one that I only used for the eyes and the nose. I really like how this shading turned out. I think this is one of my best shaded pictures probably, because I used so many different shades of gray to color it instead of just 1 or 2. I used 4, and I think that resulted in a really good shaded, really well shaded picture. So after I drew the bear, I started coloring and shading the rock. I originally wanted to make it gray, but the bear was gray, so I made the rock brown so that they would both stand out separately. After drawing the rock, I started coloring in the ground. I colored it brown and then green at the bottom, like I said I would.
And here's the final product shown on a Tororo Plains background.
I'm Doublefly and this is my picture. Its name is Trabadaba.
Hey guys, Mish here for the voiceover for my speed art recording. So I started by sketching out the picture as I do for every picture. So Mastodon actually gave the idea for how I can draw this card, and I really liked it, so I made a version of his concept. So I have hills in the foreground, and they're leading back to a large tree in the background. And the tree is supposed to represent prosperity, because this card is going to be called Pathway to Prosperity. And pathways are actually part of a cycle of pathway cards, which we'll talk about right after the speed art actually. And yeah, after I finished sketching it out, I went over it with a pen, and I made a couple of mistakes which I later edited out on Photoshop. So after everything was done, after I went over everything with a pen, I began to try out different colors to see which colors I could mix to draw the leaves on the tree. And I settled with this sort of brownish green and just a couple of other greenish colors. And I really like the brownish green because it just gives more different shades to the tree. It makes it feel more natural. I spent a really long time shading the tree, so that's why this portion is so long. I was trying to get it as detailed as possible because I really wanted that tree to stand out really a lot from everything else, because that's the main part of the picture. So I spent a lot of time on that, as I said, and I added some fruit onto the tree to show more that it is representing prosperity. So I then began to once again shade. I tried to also make the trunk of the tree intricate because once again, the tree is what needs to stand out. And altogether, I think the tree turned out really well. I'm very happy with that result. I think it's one of my better drawings. And after I was finished with the tree, I tried out some colors for the path, and I decided on this blue grayish pathway so it stands out from like a lot of greens and that are in this picture, and browns too. So after that, I just shaded lightly the hills, and I didn't want to overshade the hills for two reasons. First of all, I've worked on this artwork at this point for a really long time, past an hour for sure. And also, I really wanted, if they were too like detailed and complex, then the tree would stand out less. So I made them a bit more plain so that the tree in the background really stands out with all its detailed shading and everything. And with that, I was pretty much done.
As Mish previously mentioned, the last Speedart was for a cycle of cards that are going to be in set 2. These cards are the Pathways.
Pathways are a cycle of infinite event cards, one in each element, that have an ability that develops over 4 turns, after which the card is sacrificed. All the abilities on any one of these cards put together are going to be worth a decent bit more than the DNA cost of the card.
The reason that this isn't too powerful is because the card takes multiple turns to activate those abilities, leaving you covered in maple syrup, leaving you in a sticky position if you need to activate one of them immediately. This balances the cards out, while still keeping them very much playable.
Another thing that we want to mention is that, as the Pathways hopefully demonstrated, we have all gotten much better at drawing with markers.
We really hope you guys enjoy the new artworks. We also want to announce that we are planning on hosting a Planolution tournament on Untap with Planolution packs as prizes once we reach 150 subscribers. We'll talk more about what you need to do to enter the tournament once we hopefully reach that 150 subscriber goal.
The final thing we want to talk about is the first additions to the Planolution ban list. We have tested tons of decks and discovered that some cards are too powerful, or allow particular decks to become too powerful.
The first additions to the ban list are Double Fly, Quadrifly, and Asteroid Z!
What's that? It's Asteroid Z!
These cards aren't actually banned, but are just endangered. This means that you can only play 2 copies of each of these cards in any one deck. The reason Asteroid Z is endangered is because the card itself is just much too powerful to be allowed 4 copies of in a deck. No matter how far ahead the opponent is, this card easily brings you back. We found that in our testing, this card, being neutral and therefore allowed in any deck, was taking up 4 slots in pretty much any optimized deck. Forcing each deck to play 4 copies of this card if it wanted to be competitive just isn't something that we want to do. We also don't want to completely ban this card, as it does keep some very powerful decks in check. That is why we decided to make this card endangered.
The reason for the endangerment of Double Fly and Quadrifly is less obvious than that for Asteroid Z. We have made these cards endangered because they give a huge edge to any Tarot deck by letting them draw out lots of cards very easily, overall pulling the already dominant deck even further ahead of the rest. That is why these 2 cards are endangered.
That's all we had planned to talk about in this video, so once again, please consider subscribing if you enjoy our content. It really helps us out and encourages us to keep working on this game that we love. Thanks again, and see you guys in the next video.
Goodbye.